All right, we're going to call this meeting to order. It is 5:37. Would you please stand so that we can recite the Pledge of Allegiance?
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mr. Chair, Hector Alanis,
Present.
Tony Arce Jr.,
I am here.
Roque Vela Jr.,
Present.
Jesus Olivares,
Present.
Adrian Zapata,
Here.
Trisha Cortez, Pete Sines III, Fernando Baldazo,
Present.
Javier De Anda,
Here.
Alfonso Avero, Guadalupe Ramirez, Jorge Gonzalez, David Cash Vasquez, was not going to be able to make it. Arturo Dominguez,
Present.
Myra Hernandez, Juan Narvaez,
Present.
Jerry Shrevel,
Present.
Bill Young, Jerry Maldonado, Monica Garcia, Edward Garza, Lucy Morris,
Present.
Albert Chapa, Belinda Guerra, and Rick Laurel.
Okay, if my count is correct, I think we've got 13 members present and 12 absent. That's 25, right? That's count for everyone?
13,
13, yeah.
13, yeah, 13.
Fine. And
13
so,
of the 12 remaining members, or originally 28.
perfect, okay.
We just got another one.
We have one more.
Albert Chapa.
Albert Chapa,
Albert Chopper, okay.
yeah, proceed.
All right. Does that establish quorum or?
Yes.
Very well, okay. We were just presented minutes, just a few moments ago, so
I move to accept the approval of the minutes of September 30th, November 12th, and December 10th, 2024.
Second.
we have first and we have second. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Right, citizen comments. Do we have any citizen comments today?
Mr. Chair, nobody signed up for citizen comments.
Very well. Then we'll move on to general discussions and presentations, beginning with the Public Infrastructure Subcommittee. Discussion with possible action on the Public Infrastructure Subcommittee's recommendations, if any, to be presented to the City Council for approval for placement on the special election ballot. So I'll turn it over to Chairman Roquevela.
Thank you, Chairman. First, let me thank the fellow committee members from the Public Infrastructure Committee and recognize him, Arturo Dominguez. I just saw him, Mr. Jerry Schwebel, and Councilmember Juan Narvaez. Thank you for being here. As you all know, the motion that we passed the last, I guess it was December 10th, was $30 million. Well, first of all, the motion was to ask City Council for a charter revision amendment at the next charter election ballot for 5% of all property taxes collected to be designated for street paving, and add $30 million on this year's bond referendum pending Public Works Subcommittee's approval. We did not, unanimously did not approve that $30 million. So I'd like to start by making a motion to again ask the City Council to place a charter revision amendment to the next charter election ballot for the collection of 5% of all property taxes collected to be designated for street paving. That's my motion.
There's a second?
Second.
All right. Discussion or reference to city attorney or anyone? Are there any questions or any comments from the city attorney?
No,
Aye.
this is a bit remote from the agenda item, but again, it's a recommendation, so I believe it's appropriate to move forward.
Very well, very well. Are there any other questions, any discussion on this topic? All right. Having heard none anymore, let's go ahead and call the vote. All those in favor?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
13. All right.
That's all we have.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right. Was there anything else, Chairman Vela, that needs to be addressed?
No, I think the recommendation, or in this case, lack thereof, a recommendation of introducing any bonds from the subcommittees speaks for itself. That's the recommendation. I know we have another agenda moving to the main committee for the total recommendation. If you'd like to move on to that, I have some comments about that.
Very well. Let's move on to the next item, the main committee. Discussion with possible action on the main committee's final recommendations to be presented to City Council for approval for placement on the special election ballot. So I'll turn it over to, I believe, our budget director, who is going to be presenting on that.
Good evening. My name is Jesus Esparza with the Budget Department. I have a short presentation on the project submitted to the main committee as a recap for your review. The summary by departments that were submitted to the main committee from the subcommittees are from Public Safety. Fire Department submitted 98.6. Police Department, Public Safety, 261.9 million. Health and Wellness, Health Department submitted 70 million. Health and Wellness Community Development for the Hamilton submitted 10 million.
How much is that?
Public Infrastructure did not submit in lieu of the retraction of the motion that was made. We have a zero amount right now submitted.
Okay.
And we have under the Enhancement Services, Parks and Recreation Department, 92.9 million. This is what was submitted, total of $533.4 million. The first slide shows the amounts for the Public Safety Fire Department. As you can see, this is a 98 on the left. Right side has an amounts that were approved. The construction improvements costs for different stations for a total amount of 54 million. Next amount in there is the vehicles of 29.9 million. And we also have the equipment, portable radios, antennas, 7.6. So the recommendation of 98 was what was approved by the main committee of 98.6 million. This was for the Public Safety Fire Department. For the Public Safety Police Department, we have 261, of which 261.9 were approved from the main committee as a motion. Included in there is a new construction for the main headquarters, training facility sectors, which is the largest amount of 166.4 million. We also have radio dispatch council for 5.7, body worn in-car video cameras of 32.8, and the aviation 13.6 millions, which were the larger amounts for a total of 261.9 million. Submitted and approved by the main committee to move forward. Next slide for the Health Department. Health Department has the remodeling of the main admin building of 10 million construction. Clinic Research Center, 39.5 million. Furnishing, 6.8, and contingencies, 4.4, for a total of 70 was presented to the main committee, and 70 million were approved to move forward. The following was the Community Development Department, total of 10 million for the repairs for the Hamilton. Listing here is all the items that were submitted: elevator replacement, the chillers, the window replacements, and professional services totaling about approximately $10 million. 10 million were made, approved by a motion to move forward to the council. Parks and Recreation, the requests were 92.9 million, of which only 77.9 million were approved to move forward. The difference was the water park of $15 million. In there includes the replacement of the admin and warehouse building, $8 million, replacement of the synthetic turf for 9 fields, 19.4 million, conversion of LED sports lighting for 8 parks, 13.8. We have the construction of the rec centers in District 6. There were 2 rec centers here for 30 million that were approving the motion to move forward to council. These were the recommendations that we have. We go back to the first slide. We have a total of 533 were submitted. And the only thing that was not approved was the Buena Vista water.
So you're gonna add the 30 million to bottom line on this?
One of the items that, in discussion for the paving of the public infrastructure, we have been discussing some of the needs that we have for the paving program. Their management is discussing a recommendation that we will bring forward as to the final proposal based on our engineer's estimates of what is needed.
And what would that recommendation be
That's something that Mr. Chavez is working on currently.
currently? So it's not gonna even come to us?
Not at this point.
I have a quick question.
Can I have,
I
go
have a
ahead.
question. So the recommendation that you're talking about, and all the work that we actually
Just
put
wrote it down.
into meeting as committees and stuff, you're still not gonna take back what we voted on, and what we're approving, you're still gonna package up something else and take it to council? Is that what you guys are saying?
Yes, that's what he just, that's what he just said, yes. Okay,
Hold on.
so right now, we're at $533 million. What's the impact to our taxes? How many cents?
Well, right now, the only thing we're doing is.
Sorry, sir, it's a simple question. What's the impact? I know what it is. How many cents is it?
About 12 cents.
Actually, it's over 13 cents. 13.3, I believe. 13.3 cents. You know what the percentage is? Do you know what the percentage is?
No.
Over 26% tax rate increase. 26% is what is being proposed. That's not even including whatever it is that you guys are gonna take to council, which from what I understand is another $150 million. So we're talking about a 32% increase that's going to be introduced to the public. I mean, it's just crazy. And where's our city manager?
Chairman, Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
Steve Landine, Assistant City Manager. City Manager is out today. He's there in Mexico on a trip. I'm representing his office at this time. So basically, I will give you an update on behalf of management. On behalf of management, your numbers are correct, Councilman. You're accurate. The goal of the committee was to get you all to make your recommendations, and you all have. And then we were gonna take your recommendations back to the city council. We have an agenda item set for the Tuesday city council meeting in which us, as you all are your package is already there on the screen. And the only thing that was pending was your committee, Chairman Vela, of the amount. We were gonna present it all with your recommendations as the committee, from the council, with your recommendations, and we were gonna add recommendations in addition to yours, administrative recommendations for the council to consider, because they could easily say, no, this category is too much, we are going to reduce it. This other category is too much, we're gonna reduce it. We're gonna take this, and this off. Similar to the Charter Review Committee, in which you all came forward to the council and presented your items to the council, and the council then determined if they were gonna move forward with what you all, as a committee, presented to the city council. Same concept. So at that point, the council will determine what of public safety will go forward, what of infrastructure, if any, will go forward, because they're gonna know transparent, we're gonna tell them, committee said no, nothing on public infrastructure. However, we identify as a administration that there is a need for paving, understanding that you have a charter amendment that the committee passed right now in a motion to take to the next charter revision, not anytime soon. And so ultimately, our goal is to be transparent with the council, telling them this is what the group said and approved. This is what we also will approve. City manager also made a comment that I want to share with everybody. Thank you for the work that you've done. But at the end of the day, we recognize the impact. And we also recognize that there's going to be a moment in which we're going to tell the city council, all of these projects have been approved by you all. However, the numbers are high. And we recognize the impact to the voter. And we also recognize the reality that some of these items are probably not priority items. As the chair, as the liaison to the Public Safety Committee, I also spoke to the committee and let them know I recognize that both departments have a lot of needs. I was a chief of both departments. I know that there's need there, but I also know that it's hard for us to sell 361 million in public safety. Both chiefs are aware that their asks are pretty high. Some of the other asks that have been before you all as a committee are also going to make this impact. So at the end of the day, the council will make that decision as to where they're going to trim. And they may go with maybe a $250 million bond and cut back and have only a certain number. So we appreciate the work and the time you all spent and all the staff that supported and brought forward to you all everything they brought forward. But at the end of the day, it's going to have to be a decision by the council of what's going to go forward to the voters.
And even at this point, the council might decide to even make more cuts.
That's correct.
And that's gonna be their choice, simply because, they're gonna reflect on what, Roque just said. Even though these are just recommendations, council is gonna have to look at it very carefully in order for them to be able to make a conscious decision. And it still has to go before them, before any final decision is made.
Yes, and as I was telling, Mr. Chairman, as I was telling Chairman Vela earlier, when I saw him, when I walked in, ultimately, we have an item for Tuesday, in which we're gonna take this to the council, and we invite the committee to be there with us. Hopefully, the council will bring it up, talk about it, but it's gonna be presented already to them. And then we're gonna ask for, I have a timeline, if I may, Chairman. January 14th, we're meeting here today. The next date that's of note is January 17th. We will be sending a Friday packet report of all of what you all have done to the city council. The city council is going to get a report, an up-to-date report this Friday. On the 21st, which is Tuesday's regular city council meeting, there's an agenda item, as I discussed with you. On January 30th, we will call a special workshop, if needed, Unless, if the council makes a decision on Tuesday, we won't have the 30th. But in the event that they don't get to it, or they don't make a decision on it, or they want more time for the issue, we're gonna try to call a special meeting for January the 30th. And then, on February 10th, there will be a special city council meeting to approve the language that will be taken to the voters. So those are the key dates, because we have a deadline of February 14th to meet statutory requirements. And I know Ms. Rangel had some comments.
Yeah, let me recognize the young lady. Let me recognize her so she can come up and, I don't know if you've got some questions or some
Well,
comments.
I don't have questions, but I do have comments when it comes to, what Chief Landine just said. Well, we must be reminded that yes, there might be two scopes of, the bond packaging that they're gonna take back to the council. And it's also going to be crucially important that they understand that what this committee is working on are the numbers that we think as voters ourselves, because we also have to vote for this. All the people that are in this audience have to go out there and vote. So we're packaging up something, taking it back to the council, and what they need to emphasize to council is basically stating, we worked on the work for the committee, and we are the voters that are telling you that this is probably something we can pass. Not what you think administratively that this is what you need. Because at the end of the day, I don't want my tax rate to go up 32%. You know what I mean? So we also have to put into consideration that information that is vital to the people, and letting them know that, put it in red that it's administrative, that you're asking for this, but also put it in yellow that this is what we approved upon. Yes, it might be something like the charter revision that we're gonna put back on the voters, but that is on the general election. You have upon thousands of people voting on the charter revision. Here, a bond standalone is very different, because you're only gonna get 10% of the people to go out and vote. It's not even at least 50% of the people that vote in the general election. So it shouldn't be fair that we're trying to administratively pass this, and we are looking at a very different scope. What have we discussed, what we've been going through, and in the exercise and whatnot. I just wanted to make sure that I put it on record so council would know that this is what this committee is voting upon only, not what administratively they think that should happen. So that was my comment.
Note taken. Are there any other comments from the floor before we move on to any comments from the table?
Oh, and now that I'm there, I motion to approve the public safety to go packaged as it is structured by our committee to go before council, because that is something that our committee worked hard on to make sure that it gets to the, what is it, $361 million that you had said?
Yep.
Right? So it can go straight to council, and then council has the amount to kind of sit, because I really do think that there's a dire need in public safety.
I'll second for discussion purposes.
All right, there's a motion, a second. Is there any discussion on this?
So, just to parlay on Ms. Garcia's comments, it's important that we understand, because I've heard this often, I just heard it from you two, and I've heard it before, is council's gonna cut it down, and I've also heard, the citizens aren't gonna approve that much money. And to piggyback on what she said, we're also taxpayers. And what we send forward is something that we need to be okay with. We can't expect council to chop it down. We can't expect council that they won't add on. Let's not forget, this is, and by the way, I want to recognize my council member, Mr. Rangel, who made the time to come here and sit in the committee. Thank you for being here, council member. And let's not forget, this is the same council that gave themselves a raise. This is the same council that sells $1 million in discretionary fund, for discretionary purposes every year. So for us to expect that they're all of a sudden going to have the foresight to be fiscally responsible is being optimistic, to say the least. So for us to be able to put something forward and hoping that they're going to all of a sudden be fiscally responsible doesn't make any sense to me. So it's important that we put something forward that's going to make sense. And $533 million does not make any sense. Possibly more from what the staff is talking about.
The motion that I asked for
You
on
got
the
it.
floor,
Okay,
did you second?
Okay, go to the microphone.
The motion that I asked for was to pass the $361 million for public safety. For it
Yes.
to go to council, but I do want to make an amendment that it is get structured to the voters individually, and every single public safety, what is it that you have?
261.
Okay, 261, 900, but it goes individually as public safety, so people can vote for that standalone. And then you have the other one, there's different, the health department and enhancement services and whatnot, for it to be all cut down so that people can be able to vote individually depending on each structured, the way we have it structured now.
Yes, I understand the motion, and I'm working towards an amendment to your motion, if you
Well,
will.
I'm not gonna be-
let me make a point of clarification. I believe we had already voted on this, and it's on record. So I'm not certain, I don't
Yes.
understand, another motion
Point
to
of order.
present something that's
Point of
already
order,
been there.
Chairman. The motion was, and I amended the motion, the motion was to approve this
I think
with the
only-
caveat that we could
The
come
motion
back,
needs to be amended by the
that we
person.
could
who made the
come
motion.
back to address this
It was.
in this meeting.
Point of order, it was
You gotta go to the mic.
It was actually, voted upon during the committee meeting for that, to bring it back to the last and final meeting for approval on the 361. That's why I'm making a motion to finally approve it and take it forward to city council for approval, and for them to look at everything that is said on the public safety, and for it to be standalone for the voters, not for it to be like the whole, what is it right now, $518 million altogether. That for it to be for public safety, so people can know that they're voting for public safety for the city of Laredo.
Chairman, yeah,
Yes, go ahead.
we like what Ms. Garcia is talking about. We've actually talked about it as a management team related to what she's saying. We're looking at asking our bond council to draw up between 8 and 10 resolutions or 8 and 10 items to be voted on, so that we could divide it up
Correct.
to have a better chance at the voters looking at it individually. There is some discussion amongst public safety, because I know they've reached out, that police will have theirs and fire will have theirs. And there's also other discussions to make sure that the parks have theirs, and as Ms. Garcia is saying as well. So what she's saying is on the mark. We agree that they need to be itemized to a certain extent. How much will be determined by the council as to if they will, what will go to the voter. So ultimately, that's the goal, not to put one big chunk.
That's
We're
correct,
gonna
and I
break it up.
I think everyone understands that, I think we had discussed that in the past, so, yeah.
Call for the
Go ahead.
question.
Chair, if I may, just to add a
Yeah,
little
go
bit
ahead.
of clarification. The purpose of this presentation was to we're not making a recommendation from staff at this point. The purpose of this presentation was to recap the projects that were submitted to the subcommittee meetings that were then brought forth to the main committee, and the main committee voted on accepting these items in here. The items that were presented were $533.4 million that were presented from the subcommittee to the committee. The committee's motion was to approve that less the 15 million for the water park, which in essence, we're approving, the main committee recommended approval of $409. The committee may increase or change that recommendation at this point. This is a meeting where you all can look at and say, well, we can take this part out, we want to add this part, because that is what then is going to go to the council for their consideration. So I just want to make that clarification. So 518 million is what is being right now as motioned by the committee to move forward. Well, 533 was what was
Minus-
presented,
minus
less the
15
15 million, which
for
is
the
the
water
518.
Minus the water
So I just wanted to clarify that, because it's not the 533 at this point moving forward.
There's a
it's
net
518.
amount.
Right, correct.
Minus,
Minus the 15 million from parks that was unapproved for the water park.
Correct. All right, very well. Are there any other questions or discussions
Sure.
before we?
Chairman,
Yes.
so the 360 million puts us at 9 cents, correct? Oh, yeah,
10 cents generates about 416. 10
9
cents.
cents. Maybe a little under, so
Yeah, and
we're,
and if you look at it as it relates to a home, at 10 cents, a home that's 300,000 is approximately $300 per year.
how big is that home? How much is the valuation on it?
300,000, a home that's valued at 300,000, if we do at 10 cents, represents about 300,000. $300 per year.
$300 per year,
Yeah, so a $200,000 home is about $200
okay.
plus for the 10 cents,
Okay,
just to get an idea of what we're talking about.
do you have broken in there what the effects on their extra, interest rates on their mortgages?
This
How
is,
much- how
this
much
is an
gross- how much
approximation.
groceries is, like, this is and this is one of the comments that I made earlier, it's like the worst time to be talking about introducing a bond package like that. But that being said, there is a need right now, and I understand that, there is a need, there's
Yeah.
absolutely a need in public safety. There's also a need in public infrastructure as well, but we have to make sure that we focus in on what's important. So at 9 cents, we're looking at an 18% increase in our property taxes.
And some of those other factors, as we move forward with our financial consultant, is where we're gonna determine how those, because right now we're going for approval to get these projects done. We are not gonna do all these projects on year 1 or year 2, because there's also an M&O component of when we are building these
there's something
items.
like that as well.
So we're not necessarily gonna issue that $400 million on year 1. It might be part of it on year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. However, we are getting the approval to move forward as our budget is able to absorb some of these projects that we have. Some of these projects are a building, so it does not have too much M&O. Some of them are fire stations that require personnel, firefighters, police officers, that is gonna be, have an impact on our M&O.
Yes, understood. So, again, my question was, the 9 cents represents an 18% increase. That's correct, right? That's accurate? So again, at an 8, just with that alone, it's an 18% increase.
Yes.
Yes, that's correct. Okay, so I'm going to amend my motion, Ms. Garcia, or ask you to amend your motion anyway, to approve this $360 million for public, safety, and,
For how much?
the 360 and change. I'll give you the exact number so it's in the motion.
Okay.
It's $360 million, $564,409.
Yeah.
So the motion to approve that and make that recommendation and that recommendation only to city council.
I accept your motion.
All right, so there's been a motion, it's been amended. Let's go ahead and, we do have sorry, point of order.
I just
We need
want
to have a motion on
clarification.
the amendment.
Yeah, can I have some clarification?
Yeah, go ahead.
Administratively?
Sure.
So the other subcommittees will go to 0?
Correct.
Okay, understood.
I accept the amendment.
How's that again?
All right, let's just make sure we got this clarified.
That's what the motion is. He's
The
wanting,
motion is to just.
Do public safety.
$361 million.
Public safety.
For council.
All right, so, yeah. Is that what you want to do?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I don't want to increase our taxes any more than 18%.
Okay.
That's still too high.
All right, so let me make a couple of points, and then, we'll, I think there's maybe a little bit further discussion. Having said that, so make sure that everyone that's present, that's member, that can vote on this motion, can make a decision, right? So the motion on the floor is to basically disregard the recommendations that have been made by the other 3 subcommittees and move forward only with the $361 million from the Public Safety Committee. Look, we have 2 chairs who have been involved in city government. They know what's going on. They know what's been, how this, issues have been, handled in the past and whatnot. But our task as subcommittees was basically to work together to identify what needs we had in each particular department or field. And we did our work. I mean, I think from the very get-go, being told, hey, you've got $800 million or more that you're gonna, we're looking at to put in a bond referendum. I mean, that's a lot of money. And in having some discussions, with all of you, find out that, possibly maybe even $200 or $250 million is gonna be the tops of what, is really gonna go up for the voters. So I think maybe from the get-go, maybe we shouldn't have gotten each, subcommittee, given an enormous amount of money that, we're gonna be working on and finding projects to do. Now, I think we all know that there's certain needs in our community, especially in public safety, because that's at the top of our list, fire and police. But there's also needs in other areas as well. We also understand, and, we were given this information when we received our packet as to what the guidelines are. We received information from our bond consultants, from our city attorney, as to what to expect. I don't think anyone ever said, this is how much money you have to play with, or you've got, to budget for, and you're gonna get all that money, and all that money is gonna go to a bond referendum, and it's gonna pass. It's not that easy. We were also told that, whatever the subcommittee has decided, it's a recommendation that's gonna be given to city council, and city council is gonna work on those proposals. They're listening to what we've got to say. We're an advisory committee, but we're not the city council. And city council is not the voters. The voters are gonna finally decide as to what gets passed and what doesn't. And for that reason, a lot of the topics we've discussed today, whether it's in public safety, health and wellness, public infrastructure, or in enhancement purposes or fields, all those items are gonna be broken down further to allow the voters to decide what items are gonna be passed and what items are not gonna be passed. And we all understood that from the very beginning. So for us to really bicker and make comments about, how much money, the taxes are gonna increase and whatnot, we all understand that. The taxes are gonna increase, but we're given a task, and this task is to make a recommendation to city council, and they're gonna make some recommendations and vote on what's gonna, be placed on the ballot, for the bond referendum. So I myself, I'm not in favor of this motion to say to the other subcommittees that the recommendation from our main committee is only for public safety, because it's not gonna fly. City council is not gonna do that. We all know that. So that's my take on that. I don't know if anybody else wants to make any motions or speak on this.
Rick Laudel, for the record, I think that taking everybody else's and putting them in the corner and saying we don't need that takes away from me voting if I need a rec center in my district. I don't think you have the right to do that, and I don't think anybody else here has the right to do that until we vote in May. What you're saying is completely true. We don't want more taxes, we don't need, but we still have the need. Your comments need to be taken before council and told them at that moment. We were tasked with a job to come up with ideas, like Mr. Alanis said. These are the ideas. You're not city council. You're not passing this on to the voter. This still has to go to management. Management still has to take it to city council. And then we, as a city, decide if we want what we want, when we want it. So don't put yourself so far ahead. You're not talking as a city councilman anymore, with all due respect.
I never once suggested that I was still.
No, but you are thinking like one. And you're putting this position to give ideas,
If I was thinking like one, I'd be voting for $800 million to be put on this bond referendum. I'm thinking like a homeowner.
So
I'm thinking like a business
So am I,
owner.
but I want to be able to
thinking like
vote if I
somebody
have
that
a
is-
district, something in my
that
district.
understands how difficult it is to run a business right now. How difficult it is to pay for your mortgage.
Right.
How difficult it is to pay for your groceries. And the impact
Roque,
that
that's not
this
your
would
job right
have.
now. That's not your job right now,
If that's
Roque.
what you think it is, Mr. Laurel, then that's fine. I have a council member that put me here, and that is absolutely the job. Now, if you don't agree with that, then you can vote against this motion. That's fine.
No, I will,
And I'll have
because
no-
I
and
wanna
I'll
be able
no
to have
issue with
something
that.
in my district
But
that you're
you
shoving
cannot
out
tell
of the
me
door.
what I can or cannot say. Nobody here can tell me I can't talk about what the tax rate is. I can't talk about what the
Nobody's telling you
percentage
you
is.
can't.
I can absolutely do that.
like the
Now,
city
if you wanna
like
vote
the city
against it,
lawyer
you
said,
can.
you're
Go
out of
ahead and
scope.
vote against it.
You're out of
That's
scope. You were
fine.
out of scope last time.
No,
You're
we're
out of
not
scope
at,
this
we're not
time.
out of scope. We're
let-
talking about the tax
Let me
rate. We're talking
interject-
about
let
bonds.
me interject real quick and make sure that, that we, have a little bit of decorum. And, it's not to say that we're not being nice or polite. But, I would appreciate maybe any other comments that you would like to make,
No, I
Mr.
mean, that's-
Lauderdale, and then, you can address that, and then I think, we can
So-
open it up to anybody else who might have, I think Mr. Baldasso has some comments as
Just the
well.
final is, I don't agree with shoving everybody else's projects out the door for just one piece.
Thank you,
Everybody
Mr.
did their job, and everybody came up with the ideas, and everybody did what they were supposed to do and give us these ideas and these values. So I think everybody should take that into consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Lauderdale.
And that's absolutely your right, Commissioner Lauderdale, just like it is anybody else.
Come forward and be recognized in front of the podium, please.
Fernando Baldasso for the record, and I'm sure there's people that agree and disagree. Let's just vote on the item and go beyond that. That's it.
All right, is there any other comments, any other discussion? Do you have some comments, Mr.?
Call for the question.
All right, let's call for the question. All those in favor of the motion that Ms. Garcia, right,
Yes.
made, please raise your hand so that we can go ahead and count.
Do you want to restate the motion?
Yeah, you
Because
want to
there's been
restate the
some
motion
discussion.
again?
To take to city council the public safety, bond referendum recommendation of $361 million to recommend to city council to set forward to the voters, individualized from everything else, and that was my motion to take it, and then Mr. Vera did make a motion to remove everything else, and let's just be reminded that administratively, they are gonna take it. Administratively.
So again, your motion is,
The motion is for $361 million to take to council for public safety.
Exclusively.
Exclusively.
no, it's
Exclusively by itself,
Yeah.
without anything else.
exclusive.
Exclusive.
By itself, nobody else, nothing else, from any of the other subcommittees. All right, so that is the motion to disregard any other monies that have been, recommended by the other three subcommittees and only $361 million from public safety.
Not just the
Mr.
monies,
Chair-
but the projects as well. that
That's
go with
correct,
the-
yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I just wanted to echo the sentiments of some of the room, including yourself as the chairman, and Ms. Garcia. You all already approved several motions over the last few meetings of what you're telling us to send to the council. Those motions already got approved.
Correct.
Today, we're coming back, as Mr. Esparza, our budget director, said, to get your final blessing on what's gonna go forward.
Correct.
From what we're hearing, again, for clarification, there's one motion on the table just for public safety and scratching the other two. We need to be transparent as an administration to let them know you already had approved these things, and at the last minute decided, if the vote goes through, just to take this part forward. We're gonna be transparent. We're gonna provide them an administrative recommendation. It could be exactly the same. As Mr. Olivares said before, the city manager, the staff, his executive group is going to look at it in its entirety and provide an administrative parallel recommendation, although they may differ, and the council will ultimately make the right, whatever decision they make. But ultimately, I don't want to discount the work of all the other committees. And I don't want to discount the vote of all the other committees. As much as I don't want to discount the vote of the infrastructure committee, while we do have a lot of infrastructure needs, committee came in unanimously at 0. And there is needs in public infrastructure. So ultimately, we stand ready for your vote, however you decide.
All right, you're gonna make a comment?
Yeah, just a clarifying question and comment here. So for the record, Adrian Zapata. What we're passing here, what we're going to be voting on is a motion from November 12th, correct? That from the Public Safety Subcommittee, that only 5 people voted on, correct?
Those motions have already been approved.
Right, but that's the one that
So the
we're,
motion that we're gonna be voting on right now is a motion that was just brought up to the floor by Ms. Garcia and seconded by Chairman Vela, is to approve only the public safety, $361 million, and disregard the other subcommittees.
and the public safety one was only voted on by 5 people, right?
That is correct.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. All right, are there any other comments or questions before we call the vote? Yes, sir. Mr. Narvaez, you want to come forward?
On that, for the record, just to clarify the motion, I understand that public safety is the number one in everybody's mind. But then to, like I said, to discard the other items that were brought before this committee, I just feel that the motion needs to be public safety and let the others also be approved, because at the end of the day, the ones that are going to approve those other motions or those other projects, they're going to be the voters. Because we're going to put only $361,000 for public safety, disregard the others, just like Mr. Lares says. If the voters want a rec center, if they want a water park, whatever they want, let the voters decide what they want to vote on. But I think public safety is the number one in everybody's mind, because if our city is safe, we're going to bring more investors, because that's the number one, have a safe city. So just to vote on public safety, disregard the other things that were discussed. It's also these individuals or these more members were having this invest a lot of time making these recommendations, and let the voters decide whether they need a water park or not, they need a rec center or not. Remember, everything that we invest in our city takes money. A rec center is not only a building, you gotta hire personnel, the budget, and those are things that we need to consider. Who's gonna run the rec centers? Everything takes money. But I believe public safety, firefighters, and police are the ones that need to always up to date or beyond up to date. That's my only comments. Thank you.
Thank you. What?
Yeah, before we move on, would like to recognize Mr. Rick Garza, council member elect. Thank you for joining us today. It's very important that we see council members here today.
All right, let's go ahead and call the vote. All those in favor of the motion made by Ms. Garcia and seconded by Chairman Vela, please raise your hand and leave it raised. We have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, is it? 6, correct? 6 votes. All right, all those against, please raise your hand. All right, the motion does not pass. Does not pass.
Make a motion to pass everything as it already was approved
All right.
and passed on to city management and city council.
All right, just a clarification to see if that is needed or not.
No,
Not certain.
They have already been
Yeah,
voted
I
on.
think everything had been voted on, Mr. Loudon, correct, yes, sir.
Right, and this is based on the recommendation and the amendment that was voted into when we first looked at the public safety that Mr. Vela made that second with the caveat that it could be brought back, and this is the reason why we were doing this. This time I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with a recommendation that finance presented to us to move forward to council.
All right. Motion,
That's gonna be general presentations, main committee B, because it's here for approval again. So it's a consistency of approval. We have general discussion and presentation of the main committee, discussion of possible action, the main committee's final recommendations to be presented to city council for approval placement on the special election ballot. So that's what we're gonna vote upon right now.
It's what he just presented on the slide,
Okay.
which was a 518.
So you motion and I second.
Motion.
Okay,
right? All right, any questions, any discussion on this topic? Does everybody understand the motion? Clarify the motion.
Yeah. Make motion to move forward with the recommendation and the total that was presented by Finance Department. Budget.
Just for clarification, Jesus Esparza.
You want to read that number again?
$518, $464, $409.
Okay.
Second.
There's a motion, there's a second. There any questions or any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, let's move for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand, leave it raised. 1, 2, 3,
7, 8, 9.
10 out of 15. Motion carries. All right. Are there any other matters? I think if there's not any matters, I think we're moving to adjourn. All right?
So move.
So move.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.